Eleanor Taylor Jolidon, you're fund manager at Union Banque Privée in Geneva. There was a lot of M&A activities in the Swiss stock market in the first half. One example was Syngenta, which received a takeover offer of Monsanto. Syngenta rejects that takeover offer. What do you think? What's the outcome of this battle of Syngenta?
As a shareholder, I very much hope that Syngenta will be accepting this offer. I personally do not see how Syngenta can generate the value in its current position that Monsanto is offering them today. So my hope is that they will see reason and accept the offer.
There are other companies with M&A rumors. One of them is Actelion, which is not official, but which could happen. Do you think are there other companies apart from Syngenta and Actelion in the Swiss market index that could be on the radar of bigger companies or competitors?
As whole companies, I'd be a little bit surprised because some of them are quite large and as such quite complicated to take over. However, we have seen a tradition among some of our larger companies in Switzerland of rationalising their portfolios, divesting, acquiring businesses which are more attractive to them, and I expect a continuation of that theme going forward.
Some people say ABB one day might be a takeover target. The share price has been slumping for years now. What do you think? Could ABB be a takeover company, a target, or just not as a whole, but a part of it?
Again, I think it's more likely to see it going as part of ABB rather than the whole company, notably for antitrust reasons with a number of their competitors. But I'm not aware of any rumours or specific expectations in that field at the moment.
I mentioned it, you manage a fund at Union Banque Privée with Swiss equities. What were the major changes in your fund in the first half of 2015?
The one that I'm most pleased with is that we took advantage of the weakness of the market when the Swiss National Bank abandoned its peg against the euro, and we used those weekdays to buy some Straumann, where we felt that the market was reflecting certainly the exposure to euro that Straumann has, but perhaps neglecting to consider the dollar exposure and the growth opportunities which come from the new strategy of Straumann. We also built a position in Credit Suisse. That was further to the changes at management at Credit Suisse, which we feel opened the door for the opportunity to restructure some of the businesses at Credit Suisse and notably rethink the structure of the balance sheet at Credit Suisse.
Credit Suisse is a company in the Swiss market index. What are actually your favorite stocks in the SMI these days?
One that comes to mind is AMS, certainly after the weakness at the share price witnessed during the month of June. Other ones that I would mention would be a U-Blox, for example, or even a Leontech still.
That was the SPI companies, and what are your favorite stocks in the SMI?
Oh, sorry. Probably a Geberit would flag very well there because we are very fond of cash flow generation and improved cash flow generation. We feel that Geberit is an extremely attractive company in that sense.
Geberit stock has fallen almost 20% since middle of April. Is that a buying level?
Oh, certainly. I would certainly be taking advantage of that at the moment.
Well, it could fall even further, this stock.
We feel that Geberit benefits from the improved economic growth opportunities in Europe. We don't feel that anything has changed with the current Greek crisis to put that back into question, notably because Geberit obviously is more exposed to the stronger economies of Europe. We also feel that the acquisition that they've carried out of Sanitec offers a new interesting area of growth for them, and we feel that the management changes which have gone through at Geberit recently are also positive for the company.
You mentioned AMS. They reportedly have lost Apple as a big client, and as following that, the stock has fallen massively. It hasn't recovered. Isn't that a big risk to invest in that stock?
I wouldn't think so, no. I mean, as I mentioned, the stock did correct sharply during the month of June to the extent that it seems to be reflecting at the moment the fact that they've lost all business with Apple and also that they don't seem to be able to grow similar kinds of business that they had with Apple with other smartphone providers. We would argue that both those conclusions are incorrect, that even if, which isn't yet proved, they have lost part of their business with Apple, it's unlikely that they've lost all of the business with Apple. Furthermore, they do seem to be very confident about having growth opportunities with other smartphone providers. And finally, this is a company which can always adapt its costs should its revenue line change significantly.
Not only single stocks have fallen in the last couple of weeks, the general market has fallen, the SMA has fallen. Is it paid to buy stocks already now, or should investors, wait further, developments, for example, in Greece?
I think it's important to remember that the Swiss equity market is really a very global market rather than a regional market. As such, the current sentiment woes which are weighing on the market as a result of a very small and insignificant economy, which is Greece, do not necessarily change our general outlook for global growth this year and the positive fundamentals we see in much more important economies such as the United States, and which we would suggest are much more important for the growth opportunities of Swiss companies than what is happening in Greece today.
From next week on, Swiss companies will start to report first half earnings. A lot of people say we will see major disappointments as an effect of the strength of the Swiss franc in the first half. Are we facing disappointments and really declines of stocks in the second half?
There's always a mixture when you have a reporting season. What I find particularly interesting, if I look at the last reporting season, so Q1 2015, is that the only company that really disappointed was the only company which is a truly Swiss and only Swiss company. I'm referring to Sunrise. All the other companies, in fact, came out with some pretty decent results, and we had some very attractive beats. I think we could have a very similar situation for the H1 results as well. Bottom up, I think analysts have done a good job in terms of reviewing their estimates in terms of the currency effects. And I would bear in mind also that the dollar is a more important currency than the euro for globally exposed companies. And with a stronger dollar this year, that does compensate for the weaker euro so far.
Last year, you were forecasting an advance of 15 to 20% of the Swiss performance index this year. That was obviously before the decision of the Swiss National Bank to abandon the cap against the euro. So what's your performance, your updated forecast for this year until year-end, performance-wise?
We still see earnings growth this year despite what happened on the currencies. We're expecting mid-single-digit earnings growth for the Swiss equity market, and that would be, we would add to that the 3% dividend yield that one earns on Swiss companies. And we're still surprised to see what a high equity risk premium there is on the market at the moment, both in terms of the historical average for the Swiss equity market, but also in terms of the risk premium that you earn on other Swiss franc asset classes. We would be expecting that equity risk premium to fall. That means the multiple on companies should go up, and that would lead us to a performance for 2015 of approximately 10% for the Swiss Performance Index. And in view of the weakness of the month of June, that does mean 10% before the end of the year.
Eleanor Taylor, thanks so much for your time.